Okay, on the matter of what could have been. The 2011, we saw the return of the Green Hornet to public knowledge. However, the Seth Rogan kind of vehicle was rather more of a parody of the Green Hornet than anything else. It would be kind of. I just kind of thought I would note something, a couple things. First of all, the Green Hornet's timeline is sort of a mess because there have been several different companies that got hold of it and rebooted it and put it into a different direction, one way or another. But there was a very interesting series from my perspective, sometime put out sometime in the 1989s, sometime in 1989 by quote unquote Now Comics. First of all, they played up the fact that the Green Hornet has a ancestral connection to the Lone Ranger. The original Green Hornet was apparently the nephew of the Green Ranger, or the grandnephew of the Lone Ranger. I forget which one it is. So yeah, Lone Ranger and Tonto, uh, while not a direct descendant, is a direct relative of the Green Hornet is a direct relative of the Lone Ranger. But the 1989 Now comics also decided that the 1960s television character was uh, a namesake of the original, a nephew of the original Brit. So the 1960s television show, the 1989 comics decided the 1960s show was a nephew of the original Green Hornet, who himself was a nephew of the Lone Ranger. And they continued on in this vein and decided to have one the 1960s nephew um, come across as what do you call it? Have start acting as the Green Hornet, the new Green Hornet, after the old one retires, and working with a female half sister to the Bruce Lee Green Hornet, which got stopped because the original copyright holders decided they wanted the Bruce Lee Hornet back. So then the Bruce Lee Hornet, whose name was apparently Hayashi, but according to the 1989 Now comics, the Bruce Lee Kato came back to being Kato and working with the new the new Green Hornet, Paul Reed. Then Nishikato came back. Kato comes back later as the Crimson Wasp, and they also introduce a Diana Reed, who is the original Brett Reed's daughter, who had become a district attorney after the TV series Frank Scanlon had retired. Now, what's really interesting about this is that Hayashi, who is supposed to be the character that Bruce Lee played, ends up in a romantic relationship with the daughter of the original Britt Reed, who would be the cousin of the person who was the Green Hornet in the 1960s show. So the Bruce Lee character ends up in a romantic relationship with the cousin of the person he worked with as first as the Green Hornet. And the Paul Reed, who was the current Green Hornet at this time, and this is probably obviously set in the later 60s or 70s because they're too closely relate the generations are too close for it to be um, in the 1980s. Anyway, Mishi, the female Kato that the original title holder said, no, we don't like a female Hornet, female Kato. Mishi, the female Kato, ends up in a romantic relationship with Paul Reed. So you have a Kato marrying a Reed, and you have a Kato marrying a Reed towards the end of this series, which kind of came to a stop uh, sometime in '93, unfortunately. Now, could you imagine if the 2011 movie had gone with that? the legacy character, where instead of having that ridiculousness with Seth Rogen as, and it was a funny movie. It's just not what I went to go see when I knew it was what it was going to be. I ended up not going out to the theater to see it. I picked it up at a discount rack of DVDs, and it was exactly what I expected Seth Rogen would do with it. And it's not what I wanted to see when I went to go if I wanted to go see the Green Hornet in the movie theater. So which is why I never went to see it. It was ridiculous and off the wall and very much a parody. But if they had gone with what the Now comics were doing, the idea of the Kato and the Reed bloodlines joining together over two courses, that would have been very interesting. I mean, then you have basically what amounts to a clan or something, a family history of crime fighters, where even in the legal sense, since one of them is a district attorney, and that would have been exceptionally interesting to run with that. But I doubt anybody would do it. I mean, you would have basically you would have a half Japanese, half Caucasian Reed, and you would have a half Japanese, half Caucasian Kato, and I'm not sure what they would be, since you would have the older couple is Kato and the daughter of the original Reed, and they wouldn't actually they would be except for through the Katos are half siblings, so they would be cousins. So you would have two cousins, one a Kato, one a Reed, um, fulfilling the role of the Green Hornet and Kato, and that would have been awesome. I doubt we're ever going to see that because everybody's going to think of the Green Hornet as the Reed character, the Caucasian, the guy with the gas gun, who's a decent fighter but not quite as good as Kato, not nearly as good as Kato, but is also a very cunning and devious person. Certainly not what Seth Rogen was, who was kind of an off the wall blah. Um, anyway, I really kind of wish they had gone with that. That would have been rather interesting. Um, to see the Green Hornet, what the Now comics did with the Green Hornet storyline with, again, the Kato family and the Reed family mixing up. That would have been a very interesting storyline to pursue. But unfortunately, it's not something that happened, and it's not something that's likely to ever happen. Um, and so that's in the category of what could have been.